I think the real success for the event has been the engagement with the corporate sponsors and our students. So they are working on real world problems, and they're going to be presenting and pitching those solutions to the companies who brought them those problems.
Blockchain Center of Excellence is our recently established research center for us to work directly with companies, and it's a chance for us to work directly with them to help solve their problems. The chance for us to work together to figure out what issues are really happening in the real world, and then bring that back into our classrooms so that the talent that we're trying to develop as our students can go out and solve these problems on day one. They can have an idea of what these problems are and help the companies further advance what they're doing with technology.
What blockchain means to me is, how do we get on the ground floor? How do we be innovators? How do we start this? How do we help shepherd an open source idea of what blockchain is, blockchain in the enterprise? It's not just one company, it's not just Tyson, it's not just IBM, it's not just Microsoft, it's an open source community, and so we want to foster that community.
You look at us and other companies around this region and also around the world that are working on blockchain used for enterprise, there's going to be a strong need for talent in that space. And we're very excited to partner with University of Arkansas and the Center of Excellence to understand how we can build courses around it, how can we solve important knowledge areas and prep the workforce of tomorrow to take on these challenges head on.
In this learn-it-all culture of blockchain, I think it's extremely important that it's a collaboration. When I go back to that transparency and trust, how are we going to work with one another across organizations, across technology providers, across companies? It's super important that we get that right so that this technology does take off, because I think it can bring tremendous value to the companies and organizations that participate.
We at IBM believe that blockchain is going to be a transformative technology in a wide variety of industries. And we're delighted to be partnering with University of Arkansas in leading that change and driving the whole world towards the next generation of technology.
I'm proud to say the University of Arkansas is the first to be actually teaching classes in blockchain, conducting research in blockchain, so that as we look ahead in 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a tremendous demand for students who know something about blockchain as it applies to business, as it applies to making it more efficient, for return on investment. University of Arkansas and the Blockchain Center of Excellence is making that happen now.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2021 RZRblock Virtual Hackathon, coming to you from the Walton College of Business here at the University of Arkansas. I'm Mary Lassity. I'll be serving as your host. I'm also the director of the Blockchain Center of Excellence, and I'm a Walton Professor of Information Systems. Now, you just watched a video of one of our prior hackathons, so it gives you an idea of what we do here at our hackathon. We have our industry partners pitching big business and societal problems, and our hackathon teams go and work on them. Now, our kickoff event today, we're going to give you some background information that you need. Then we're going to have a great keynote speech from Jeb McCaleb. And at 11 o'clock, we'll have our use case sponsors pitch 14 different use cases that you can work on. Another really exciting part of our hackathon is that you have an opportunity to learn some new technologies. So we have 3 different technology sessions that you can come and join and learn about things like Ethereum, or how to develop on R3's Corda, or Algorand, or Stellar, or learn how to use AWS Cloud Services. We're also going to have a great presentation from IBM on how to be successful at a hackathon. So if you're new to the Blockchain Center of Excellence, I just wanted to give you a quick background. We were officially launched in 2018 by the Honorable Governor Asa Hutchinson, the governor of the great state of Arkansas. And our mission here is really to focus on research and education on solving big digital ecosystem problems in business and society. And a term we like to use here at the Blockchain Center of Excellence is our solutions are blockchain enabled. And why we say that is because when you're trying to solve big, sticky, wicked problems, you will be using blockchain technologies, but you're going to be using a lot of other technologies as well. So your solutions might include things like IoT devices or machine learning or data analytics. I also wanted to inspire you a little bit. So I have a picture here of our last hackathon with our 2 winning teams. Don't they look happy? Right? So that'll be some of our winning teams here soon. I want to thank our phenomenal team here at the Blockchain Center of Excellence. So we have Catherine Carlisle. She is our Senior Managing Director and the leader of our hackathon event today. You'll be meeting her in a few minutes. Catherine is also an instructor of our digital cryptocurrency class, and her students are here. So I want to welcome Catherine's students to our hackathon. We also have Professor Dan Conway. He's Associate Director, also one of our instructors, and he is watching somewhere over there in another building live with our students in our Blockchain Fundamentals class. And then finally, last but not least, I want to introduce our 2 phenomenal graduate assistants, Lily and Odessa. They've been with us all year. They are great team players. They work independently as well, and they're both on the job market. So some lucky company is going to be fortunate to get either of these 2. Now, everything we do here at the Blockchain Center of Excellence is enabled by our very supportive executive advisory board member firm. So we have 11 of them, and you'll see these members all during the hackathon. So some of our members are pitching use cases today. Some of them are serving as judges. Some of them are giving their time to be mentors to the hackathon teams. And some of them opened up their wallets to give some money so that our winning team can have a little bit of a financial incentive. So thank you to our board. We are so pleased with our diverse panel of judges. So we have some members from our Blockchain Executive Advisory Board, including from Walmart, Golden State Foods, JB Hunt, and Microsoft. So these represent some larger enterprises. We also have 2 of our faculty members serving as judges. And then this year, we're very pleased to bring some Northwest Arkansas entrepreneurs into our judging mix. So I want to thank all of our panel of judges. And I can't name and thank all of the people who have signed up to be mentors. We have assembled unbelievable block stars, not only from Arkansas, but really from around the world that are giving of their time. Our hackathon participants will be able to find their interests and find a good mentor match through our Umbrella platform. And so I want to thank all of these people for the gift of their time. And a real shout out and a special thank you to our hackathon sponsors. So Stellar Development Foundation, R3, Algorand, and AWS Educated. They have donated financial resources, technical resources, and skills and leadership resources. You also have an opportunity today in our technical workshops to learn how to develop on these different platforms. So again, thank you to our sponsors. And with that, I am going to call Catherine to the main stage to tell our participants a little bit about the Umbrella platform. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Mary, and thanks everyone. Welcome to the 2021 RZRblock Hackathon. I want to give you a less than 1 minute overview of the Umbrella platform, just so you can get the most out of your experience today. So I'll go ahead and share that with you now. When you land on this event homepage, what you might find to the right side is the event info panel. And this is very important because this is where you can see the competition guidelines and FAQ, our hackathon optional Microsoft Teams channel, our website, as well as, most importantly, our use case documents for all of these presenters if you want to walk through as they pitch today, and where you'll be able to finally see teams confirmed with use cases at the end of the day. If we go over to our People tab, this is where you can start networking, and Umbrella actually has an AI-based networking tool to where you can talk with other attendees about whether or not your already on a hackathon team, you're looking for a hackathon team, what type of technical skills you may have, and whether you're a blockchain professional or a student. And it will help you match together with other people attending this event virtually. On our schedule tab, you can view all of the events today, favorite your sessions that you want to attend, view the bios of the leaders, and bookmark that for later. On the stream tab, that's where you'll be able to view this morning's session and all of our speakers. And then we have tech workshops later this afternoon. And don't forget to check out all of our wonderful speakers and judges and mentors, their bios here. And finally, our partners, they're very valued, our event sponsors, and they make this event possible for us. So check out those virtual booths as well. So now we're going to transition over to our keynote session with Jed McCaleb. So you can grab a quick cup of coffee and be back here in a minute. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to welcome you to this big event for us as a university, as a college, and for the Department of Information Systems here.
I don't have to tell this group that what an exciting technology that blockchain really is. It's a disruptive technology similar to what we saw many, many years ago coming out of Silicon Valley and other places. I think it's of that. So the Blockchain Center of Excellence is about thinking bigger. I think it's about asking questions and seeing where else this technology can actually take us. And above that, what I'm very pleased with and very proud of is that I think as an institution, we're on the leading edge of something really big.
Hope is looking at life on tiptoes, and that's the image I have. But to me, that illustrates where we are with blockchain, looking at the future on tiptoes, seeing where will this lead us. And Dr. Lassity, I'll tell you, I have some hopes for this center. And I don't want to put too much on your shoulders too early, but the first hope is that this center will be an excellent support for our industry leaders that are a part of this. From ArcBest, IBM, JB Hunt, Tyson, and Walmart, key industry leaders that this center needs to support, it is designed to support in their blockchain innovation. Secondly, this center is my hope that this center will be a research institution, as it will be, an advocate for new applications that fit Arkansas. I hope that there's much that comes out of this center in new applications and innovations and where this can lead our state in terms of economy and efficiency and industry opportunities.
So I am so excited to introduce our keynote speaker for two reasons. Okay, the first reason is Jed McCaleb is a true pioneer in peer-to-peer open networks. So when I was first learning this space about 4 years ago, when you think who created all this world, a couple of names come to the forefront. So you hear of Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of Bitcoin. You hear of Vitalik Buterin, the inventor of Ethereum. You hear of Nick Szabo, the creator of smart contracts, and you hear about Jed. So he has done lots of different innovations. He's a serial entrepreneur. So some of you might be familiar with eDonkey. Some of you might have heard some stories about Mt. Gox, one of the first cryptocurrency exchanges. He was also co-developer, co-founder of Ripple, and then became the architect for the Stellar Open Protocol and co-founded the Stellar Development Foundation. So the fact that, he has been such a leader in this space, he's so passionate about bringing financial services to all of the unbanked people in the world that don't have those opportunities. And so that's one reason why we're excited. So the second reason why we're excited to have Jed here is we are welcoming him back to his birthplace of Fayetteville, Arkansas. So he was born here. He went to high school at Little Rock Central High School. And Jed, when we had announced that you were going to be our keynote speaker, I had so many people from around Arkansas reach out to me and say, oh, I went to high school with Jed. I also learned that you had worked on a blueberry farm here at one point in time. So before Jed comes up, I just want to tell our audience, I know a lot of you are going to be keen to ask questions. So we're going to ask that you submit your questions through the Brella platform. I'll be monitoring that. And then when Jed's done his talking points, I'll come back on and we'll have a little Q&A, Jed. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'll turn my audio and video off and turn it over to you, Jed.
All right, thanks so much, Mary. Really excited to be here. Let me start sharing my screen. Let's see here. Okay. All right, great. So hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. So I'm Jed, the co-founder of the Stellar Development Foundation. And we're going to kick off today with a brief introduction of who we are at the Stellar Development Foundation and an overview of Stellar and how it works and what it was designed to do, particularly in the realm of payments. And like Mary said, at the end, we'll have time to answer any questions you have about Stellar or anything else. First, I want to explain very briefly what the Stellar Development Foundation is. The Stellar Development Foundation, SDF, is a nonprofit organization founded in 2014 to support the development and growth of the open source Stellar network. With Stellar, SDF seeks to unlock the world's economic potential by making money more fluid, markets more open, and people more empowered. The foundation helps maintain the Stellar codebase, supports technical and business communities around Stellar, and speaks to regulators and institutions around the world. Everything that SDF does is aimed at making the network as a whole succeed. We exist in part because today's financial system isn't working for everyone. While advancements in technology have made it so that information can be shared instantly with anyone in the world, regardless of where it came from, unfortunately, the same thing isn't true for money. Money hasn't moved into the age of the internet. Today's payment landscape is slow, costly, based on models unchanged for decades. There are many different payment networks, ACH, SEPA, mobile money things, but none of them interoperate. So assets exist in siloed databases across various payment systems, and to interoperate between systems, it takes time and money. So all of this system combines to make up the entire global financial system as we know it. And at best, today's system is slow, cumbersome, and fraught with fees. And at worst, it leaves out millions of people who don't have access to traditional financial infrastructure. So in much the same way that the internet democratized access to information, Stellar seeks to democratize access to the financial system. It can make sending value around the world as easy as sending an email. And to understand how Stellar can become the global payment standard and make sending money as easy as sending an email, I want to start by explaining what Stellar is. Because while the average consumer might not need to know how this technology works, all of you will hopefully be interested in building on top of it and that sort of thing. So what is Stellar? At a high level, Stellar is a decentralized open network that connects the world's financial infrastructure. It is a global public blockchain that is built for interoperability and to further financial access and inclusion. It does that by helping to make money more fluid, thanks to the speed and scale of the network. It helps to make markets more open because when financial infrastructure is connected, you have greater geographical and affordable access to markets. And ultimately empowers people because it gives them real world ownership of the value in their possession. So how does Stellar manage to do all these things? To understand how Stellar connects financial systems so they can work together on a single platform, we're going to delve into the following three questions. How is value represented on Stellar? What is the technology behind Stellar? And how does value move on Stellar? Okay, so let's start with the first one. So assets on Stellar. Stellar allows anyone to create a redeemable, tradable representation of any asset in a few simple lines of code. We call these digital assets tokens. And if you've heard of stable coins, those are a subset of this idea. So a token issuance is the backbone of the Stellar network. It's how Stellar connects the world's currencies into what Stellar was built for. It allows you to basically represent any form of value into the network, right? So you can issue tokens that represent bushels of corn, gold, an hour of your time as a consultant. Anything you can imagine can be represented in a tokenized form in the network. But they're most useful when tied to fiat currencies, such as dollars or yuan or euros, things like this. These fiat-backed tokens are issued by regulated financial institutions, money service businesses, or fintech companies, and our name for that activity of issuing these tokens is called being an anchor. So anchors help create a world where existing financial systems are connected to and interoperate with Stellar. They serve as the on and off ramps for the network. So an anchor will connect to a local banking system to Stellar, and so users can make deposits and withdrawals through the anchor to Stellar. A user obtains Stellar network assets by depositing traditional currencies through one of these anchors, and then now they can hold the asset in a Stellar wallet or app, use it to make payments or trade it for other assets in the network. So they make all these things interoperable. Anchors maintain fiat reserves equivalent to the value of issued tokens, so users can redeem them back at any time. So this might seem unexceptional. Issuing electronic credits in the form of a bank account or local currencies is basically what most banks do thousands of times a day. But in a global system, this one-to-one promise of a token or currency has important implications. For instance, no matter how many USD tokens move through the economy, the underlying dollar never leaves that bank account in the United States. So suppose someone loans their token to someone else who then uses them to buy a car. No bank has to settle the purchase or approve the loan. And furthermore, it doesn't matter if the seller of the car lives in Mexico or Singapore or anywhere, they can still own the token and can trade them however they please. And it also makes these different assets interoperable amongst themselves. So the Stellar network makes money borderless in this way. So I've just explained that assets like the US dollar are represented as tokens in the Stellar network, and that anchors provide on and off ramps of these tokens. But what exactly is the Stellar network? What is the technology that makes it all possible? So Stellar is a peer-to-peer network made up of nodes. Nodes are computers that connect and communicate with one another to keep a common accounting ledger and to approve and ratify changes to it. The network is open participation, which means anyone can get a node, can set up a node, and decentralized because nodes are run by independent individuals and organizations all over the globe. No one entity or person controls the network. So nodes keep a common ledger, which is stable, secure, and transparent. So the ledgers, you can think of it just as a database held in common by all these nodes in the network. So it is stable because the network is spread over servers and computers all over the world. It doesn't rely on a central server, so it can't be turned off. It's secure because no one can change the numbers or manipulate the data arbitrarily. And transparent because everyone can see the ledger and trust that the information is correct. The ledger tracks ownership, what you own, and what you want to do with what you own. In essence, it's a public timestamped series of immutable records of data that stores accounts and keeps track of their balances and offers. Every entry that persists on the ledger is tied to a particular account, a Stellar account. And accounts are the central data structure in Stellar. They are saved on the global ledger. They hold balances, sign transactions, issue assets. In fact, all entries that persist on the ledger are owned by a particular account. And account access is controlled by public-private key cryptography. So every account has a public key, which always starts with a G, and a secret key, which starts with an S. The public key is safe to share and you send it around. Other people need it to identify your account and verify you are authorized for a particular transaction, kind of like how people need your email address in order to send you emails. Your secret key, however, is private information that proves you own your account. It is like the password to your email account. You use your secret key to sign transactions, which you submit to the network to change the state of the ledger. So now, how do transactions move from one block to the next? For example, when you want to make a payment, you submit a transaction that moves part of the balance from your account to someone else's account. Every 3 to 5 seconds, the nodes on the network combine. Oh, sorry, it's behind on the slides. There we go, sorry. For example, when you want to make a payment, you submit a transaction that moves part of your balance from your account to someone else's account. Every 3 to 5 seconds, the nodes on the network combine all the transactions submitted to them into a transaction set and communicate with one another using a process called the Stellar Consensus Protocol to vote on the validity of that transaction set. Once a node ratifies the transaction set it's applied to and changes the state of the ledger. So let's quickly walk through that process. Stellar users, wherever they are in the world, submit transactions to send and exchange all kinds of assets on the network. They can move funds anywhere in the world, convert the currencies along the way thanks to a built-in decentralized exchange, which we'll go over in a minute. And the asset issuers here determine where and how the digital assets are used. These transactions are bundled into a set, confirmed by the validating nodes, and applied to the ledger, at which point they're final and create an immutable record, and then the whole process starts over again. There are all kinds of digital assets on the network. They work together to create a connected global financial infrastructure. That's because Stellar lets you do more than just send assets across the network. it also makes it easy to convert value from one currency to another. So value on Stellar can be moved in 3 ways. The simplest and most common way to move value on Stellar is to make a payment. I send you USD, you receive USD. Instead of sending value to another user, I can also trade an asset. I hold another asset on the network. I can also trade an asset I hold for another asset on the network. I sell USD for Euro, for example. Finally, I can combine the two into what we call a path payment, which allows me to send one currency and have the recipient receive another. So I'll send USD and you'll receive Euro. Trades and path payments are possible because Stellar has a built-in decentralized exchange. So in addition to tracking balances, Stellar also tracks and settles trades in a decentralized ownerless way. So it has a common built-in order book, what we call the DEX. Every token on Stellar is exchangeable with every other token on the network, and the Stellar protocol itself connects buyers and sellers with each other. Users can submit their bids and asks to the public network via a simple operation, and with every ledger close, compatible trades will automatically resolve without the use of intermediaries. The decentralized exchange facilitates universal currency conversion, which is not only great for traders, it's also great for cross-border, cross-currency transactions called path payments, I mentioned earlier. A path payment allows a user to send one currency and have the recipient receive another, which is a powerful innovation for international payments. For example, an American company can pay an invoice in Mexico by sending dollar tokens while the vendor receives peso tokens. Neither side incurs exchange risk or delays. The transaction's atomic, so it'll either succeed or fail, so no one will be stuck holding some currency they don't want. And Stellar automatically finds the best conversion rate through the DEX. So path payments are fulfilled by Stellar's interoperability promise. Value flows seamlessly from account to account in whatever form is most useful for the recipient. And that functionality leads right to the final question: what is Stellar for? Stellar is an open participation, permissionless network, so really anyone can build anything they can imagine on Stellar. But generally, it is used by companies offering financial products and services who take advantage of its features to build better solutions to real-world problems. To see what this means, let's look at some examples, starting with one of the biggest areas of focus for many companies to build on: remittances. So each year, over $500 billion in value is transferred cross-border through personal remittances. In most cases, remittances are transfers of money from foreign workers to family members in their home country. Typical transaction is from $200 to $300. An average retail cost of these transfers runs 7 to 8%. The transactions are usually done in cash. Sending costs can even be much higher than that when they're transferring money to people in developing countries. So the traditional financial systems make it hard for fintechs to enter new markets or expand remittance services to people who need them most because there is a slew of intermediaries such as agents, corresponding banks that cause slow settlement times and create additional operating costs. To cover these operating costs, remittance companies and service providers have to charge fees or bill costs into the FX transactions, thereby passing the cost along to customers. The end result is that remittances recipients receive less money. But Stellar changes that landscape. Today, remittance service providers and remote traditional banks can use Stellar to reduce friction and costs associated with traditional MTOs and the traditional financial payment rails. As anchors take care of deposits, redemptions, and compliance, businesses building on Stellar can focus on their customers' experience. So let's look at a real-world example. Let's show you how cross-border payments currently happen on Stellar. So there's two fintech companies, Tempo and Cowrie, that use Stellar today to facilitate remittances between Europe and Nigeria. Tempo is a money transfer operator based in Paris. They're an anchor for the Euro token. Among other things, they serve European Union customers who want to remit money to their families in the developing world. Cowrie is a Nigerian fintech company that builds and operates electronic payment systems. Cowrie anchors a Nigeria Naira token and integrates with a number of apps built on Stellar to make direct payments to other anchors, including Tempo. So Tempo and Cowrie use Stellar to send money back and forth on behalf of their users. The network handles the transferred value in the background, but from the user's perspective, it looks just like a traditional remittance payment. When a user wants to remit funds from Europe to Nigeria, they visit Tempo's app, connect their bank account, and initiate a payment to send Naira to the recipient. So here's a breakdown of how that process works. The user transfers euros to Tempo via a banking connection. In the background, Tempo issues Euro T token on the Stellar network. It sends those Euro tokens to Cowrie, and along the way, they're converted in the sending process to Naira tokens, what Cowrie needs via the path payment operation. Cowrie receives the Naira tokens and deposits an equivalent amount of Naira to the end recipient's bank account. All this happens automatically and is fast, easy, and cost effective. Tempo and Cowrie use Stellar to facilitate cross-border payments on behalf of users in a way that the underlying technology is opaque to the user. They don't really even know they're using any kind of cryptocurrency or blockchain system at all. But other fintech companies build apps, often called wallets, that allow the users to interact directly with Stellar. So unlike physical wallets where assets or cash is stored inside the wallet, Stellar wallets don't store assets. Instead, they give users a way to access a Stellar account, to view the assets and data associated with that account, and to sign and submit transactions. Wallets also connect to anchors so that users can easily deposit and withdraw fiat currency to get on and off the network. A good example of a Stellar wallet is Lobster. So Lobster is a mobile and web wallet built on Stellar. It gives users access to any and all assets on the Stellar network. It allows them to make in-app deposits and withdrawals via anchors, such as Cowrie, like we mentioned before. Its clean design and helpful features like email notifications simplify the whole experience and make Lobster really user-friendly. It's important to note that not all wallets are quite as open-ended as Lobster. Some focus on specific use cases like trading particular assets or doing particular things and provide users with more tailored access to the network. So why choose Stellar to build on? Stellar has some serious advantages that make it simple, cost-effective platform for building financial products. Speed, transactions on Stellar are confirmed in 3 to 5 seconds. The cost, 1 cent pays for around 100,000 transactions. Currency support, there are many tokens already on the network: USD, Euro, Naira, pesos, Argentinian pesos, and more. And you can always create more as an anchor. It's compliant. Built-in features allow unified KYC, AML via partners and travel rule compliance. There's great developer tools. Stellar's open source developer resources provide comprehensive documentation, SDKs, tutorials, and global scale. Stellar is a global network that can expand your company's reach to new geographies and users. It's also an open network. Anyone can access it for free and no one owns it. Instead, it's stewarded by an organization that nourishes the ecosystem and helps maintain the code base. I want to wrap up by coming back to why these use cases we've talked about are so important. Because they are about connecting today's financial rails to the new digital ones so that systems of value can be interoperable across borders. When you think of the last time that the current financial system was modernized and how today's system can be slow, expensive, and inequitable, the value of innovation is clear, of going from old rails to new rails. That's really what Stellar is all about. Blockchain technology is challenging us to think about money and value in a new way, presenting the opportunity to make it better, more effective, and efficient. In much the same way that the internet democratized access to information, Stellar will democratize access to the financial system. It can make sending value around the world as easy as sending an email, and we think that's really powerful. So if you want to learn more, there's great developer documentation and tools at stellar.org/developers. I encourage you to check it out and see if you want to poke around and build something. And now I will open it up for questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jed. So we have all different types of questions for you. So I'm going to probably start with the Stellar specific questions, and then we have some questions for you about being an entrepreneur. So one of the questions that came in is, given that this is a decentralized network, how do you coordinate software upgrades? So how would you get, how do you push out all the software upgrades and get the nodes to agree to upgrades?
Yeah, so we have a pretty extensive voting mechanism within the validators. Ultimately, the software that the network runs is determined by a quorum of the validators, right? So basically, most of the development is done by the Stellar Development Foundation. We take, obviously take code requests and requests for new features from the community, and other people can write code as well. But in practice, most of the new upgrades are done by us. We put them out there with an explanation of why they're done, and then there's a flag inside Stellar Core. If you run a validator, which is called Stellar Core, you can set the date that you're willing to accept this change, or if you're not willing to accept this change. And once basically enough validators out there in the world have agreed to the change, the network moves to that change. So.
Is that a simple majority, or is that 3/4 or 90%? What do you look for?
So it's more than a majority. It's basically it's what we call like it's like a quorum set of the network. So basically, it depends on how the network topology. The reason why that's hard to answer is because it depends on how the topology of the network is arranged. It could be a few servers, or it could be much more than a majority. In practice, it ends up being like 3/4. So.
Okay. We have another question. This person asks, do you have any plans at the Stellar Foundation to tokenize the stock exchange, to tokenize stocks?
So the Stellar Development Foundation doesn't personally. There's a company called DStock that's doing this, and we're pretty excited about. There are already stock tokens on the network now that you can get through DStock, and I think you can hold in Lobster and trade in other places as well. And there's other companies that are tokenizing not equities, not public equities, but things like real estate and more private investments. That's called Realty Bits, which is also super interesting. So people are definitely tokenizing other things other than just straight currency. So.
Okay, good. What was your scariest moment as CTO of the Stellar Development Foundation?
Scariest moment? Let's see. Well, let's see. I mean, we had the network stalled at about 3 years ago now, and I think that was probably the scariest moment. There was basically a series of because the network, again, it depends on these validators, and if the validators stop validating transactions, rather than the network kind of proceed and go on with this thing that no one's sure about, the network will stop. And so what happened is, we basically had a network upgrade. A couple people were upgrading at kind of the same time, and it basically halted the network. And there was a scramble to get it back up. It only ended up being down for roughly an hour. And since then, we've put in a lot of things in place to make that much less likely to occur. So we're in a much better situation now. But that was a little bit scary when things just stopped proceeding. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we have a couple of big implication questions. So we have one question is, how do you see these types of systems changing global power structures?
Yeah, so I think this is super interesting, and this is a big reason why I got into this in the first place is, anytime you have these concentrations of control or power, they become the leverage points for how people can, cause people to do one thing or another. And something like Stellar, the hope is that it really levels the playing field and it makes it where there's not this ecosystem of gatekeepers, which is the way the financial world is today, where like everything kind of has to go through these corresponding banks, and it's very centralized. And so that what that leads to is people kind of being beholden to these other people that can kind of be extractive, right? And so the hope is that it becomes a much more like flat level democratic system where people can send to each other, and it just kind of leads to more equitable access. So what that looks like in practice is kind of remains to be seen, but I think we can kind of take parallels from the internet where, prior to the internet, it was, if you wanted to get information out into the world, you'd have to go through like this certain set of gatekeepers, like book publishers or studios or what have you. And now it's not like that at all. Like anybody can make stuff, and it leads to a much richer world, I think. So.
Feel free to decline answering this question if you're not comfortable, but we have a question. What advice would you give President Joe Biden to help enable this?
I would say take one of the issues, I mean, it's getting a lot better now, but I've been in this space for over 10 years now. And so definitely in the early days, it was very unclear, regulatorily unclear, like what things you could do and what things you could not do. So it would be great for the ecosystem as a whole if that situation was made more clear cut. So people knew what things they could build, where the lines were, because all of this is kind of pushing the envelope of like fintech essentially. And so the existing rules, a lot of them I think could apply, but it's unclear whether they do, like what things are a security, what things are not a security, what you have to do to avoid being on the wrong side of AML laws and anti-money laundering, things like that. So I think just clarity is like the best thing. But when doing that, I would just hope that they would take a very liberal view to like what you're allowed to do with this stuff, because rather than kind of squash it right out of the gate, because I think it has a lot of potential, and like viewing it as something used only by criminals is not the right lens. So.
No, and I'm a little encouraged because he did hire MIT professor to be head of the SEC, and that professor is an expert in cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So that's a little ray of hope.
Yeah.
So Jed, I love this question. So this question is, you have so many, I'm sure you have hundreds of ideas in your head. How do you decide which of your many ideas that you're actually going to see through to development? So how do you prioritize the many interests that you have?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a challenge, and it's always sad when you have this idea. Like, I've had ideas that I've been wanting to do for, 15 years, but I just haven't ever found the exact right time to do it. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's just a calculus of what will have the most impact on the world, what's actually achievable, what will make me happy personally to work on, whether, like, if the problem's interesting, for instance, what will, like, I like doing stuff that actually has a meaningful impact for people, where not just like making something that's like a toy. Like, I want something that actually will change the world for the better. So, like, I look for projects along those lines. But yeah, it's always kind of a struggle to figure out exactly which thing to focus on. But I think in general, people should take their time on this. I feel like in general, people like jump in, particularly new entrepreneurs, they just jump in too quickly to the first idea they have, rather than allow themselves time to, like, really mull it over and, like, come up with a few and make sure that's the one they want to do. Because when you jump into something, it always lasts much longer than you anticipate. So.
Okay, just two more questions and then we'll let you go.
Okay.
So as far as like timeline of adoption, you just cautioned us that, you go slowly, think thoughtfully. When do you think it'll be a reality that, like, large box retailers will actually let us pay for our purchases with a digital currency?
I mean, online, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. I mean, it seems like it's no downside for them to, like, start taking this stuff, and it just increases the amount of people that can pay for things. So I think that will happen pretty quickly, like, online. It should happen, I don't know about the date, but I'd be surprised if it's not happening within 3 years from now, but probably sooner than that. In person is kind of a different question. I mean, that it's less compelling there for sure. So I don't know when that would happen.
Okay, great. And here's our last question. What are your recommendations and advice for our students who are looking to enter into the blockchain space for their future careers?
Yeah, I would just say that, blockchain is obviously very exciting and there's a lot of cool things happening. I would just really be careful about what you jump into. There is a lot of nonsense out there, and a lot of like I don't know, stray voltage of just crazy ideas or stuff that just doesn't really make sense. It's tough because a lot of it is very technical, and without really digging deep into the tech, it's hard to know if some of this stuff actually has legs or not. So I would just be very careful about which one you jump into. I mean, obviously it's an exciting space, and I understand why people would be drawn to it. But yeah, I would just again, just like look around and just be careful and thoughtful about what you like, sign up for. So.
Okay, all right, great. Jed, thank you so much for your time. I hope to welcome you physically back to Fayetteville when we're back to normal. Yeah. We'd love to see you. Thank you again. I was
hoping this would be in person, but
yes, hopefully soon.
Thanks, Marion. Good luck.
Okay, everyone. Thank you. With that, I'd like to bring Catherine back to the stage.
Hello, everyone.
So Catherine, you're going to help us a little bit more with the details of the hackathon.
Yes, I'm going to help explain a little bit more about the logistics and the communication, so it's really clear for everybody going forward. And really two things I'd like to cover is how to submit your team's use case and choice today, and then communication for all of us going forward. If you're here and you haven't heard already, the Blockchain Center of Excellence is hosting this 2021 RZRblock Hackathon, and it's a month-long competition. It's completely free, it's completely virtual, and it's going to be open to both students and people in the professional community that want to join. So we'll have a very interesting mix of diverse skills and backgrounds. However, we are going to do two separate tracks. So there will be a student track as well as an open track, which I'll explain a little bit more in a minute. So first, about how to submit your team's use case choice today. After hearing these use case pitches at about 11:30 Central Time, when we'll close that out, we'll begin accepting teams applying to compete. But don't worry if you don't have a team yet. You'll have time to explore connections the rest of the day on Umbrella, or you may meet a teammate in your technical workshops or on Microsoft Teams. You have until midnight tonight to submit a team application to compete with a cutoff for those prizes. To submit your team, please send an email to blockchain@uark.edu, that's uark.edu, with your team name, your use case choice, all of your team member contacts, and this is, remember, 3 to 5 individuals, and whether you're in the open track or the student track. There are only a few spots available for each use case topic. So if there's a business challenge you're really passionate about, it's a good idea to do that sooner rather than later. And if you already sent choices in before 11:30 a.m. Central Time, you'll need to resubmit those choices just to be eligible for claiming those spots. Next, we're going to post all the official team selections that are shared in an Excel file that you'll find in that event info page. And it's titled Hackathon Teams Confirmed. And it's going to be in the event info section on your homepage, Umbrella. And that's where you'll see those official spots fill up. Let us know on Microsoft Teams channel or by email if you would be interested in the AWS cloud credits, and if you want to experiment with building out blockchain architecture solutions free of charge with those credits. We're happy to supply those. Next, what does communication look like with our event going forward? Umbrella will still be open today and available for you to log on and rewatch any of the videos or connect with other participants or your mentors that will actually guide you from here on out. So all mentors can initially be viewed in the Umbrella in their profiles. This includes their professional backgrounds, their areas of expertise, preferred meeting times, and email contacts. Mentors are dedicating up to 1 hour each week to meet with participant teams virtually. So it's up to each group to schedule, whether that's Zoom meetings, Microsoft Team meetings, or phone calls with mentors as needed throughout the competition. More information for how to join the RZRblock Hackathon Teams channel is also on your event info page in Umbrella. So in order to gain valuable feedback and build these rich business relationships and professional relationships, we encourage you to schedule at least one check-in a week with a mentor of your choice. And this could vary week to week. So over the next 4 weeks, just make sure you're checking in with somebody that we're providing to you as an expert to help your team really make the most out of your use case solution. An important date to note, our use case due date, it's going to be April 2nd. So your team should prepare a recorded video presentation of a blockchain-based solution between 8 and 10 minutes long. So no more than 10 minutes long. And you can use this with this presentation with Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides. It should be an MP4 file of the pitch presentation, and it should be submitted to our email again at the Blockchain Center of Excellence. That's blockchain@uark.edu by 5 p.m. on Friday, April 2nd. So each team can choose to have one person or multiple people pitch, but on April 2nd, that video file is due with your final pitch to be judged. On April 9th, winners will be announced and released to all the participants in an emailed video message from our hackathon judges and Dr. Mary Lassity, as well as a full YouTube playlist. And this is going to be all the hackathon team pitches and entries in an accessible playlist, as well as our winning teams videos. The Blockchain Center of Excellence board members and sponsor partners have made it available this year for the first time for us to do first, second, and third place prizes for both the open and the student track. Winners and prizes will all be announced in that video message on April 9th. So finally, I'm going to distinguish with our student track. This is a separate track for just University of Arkansas blockchain program students. So all students from external universities or college programs, you'll actually be competing in our open track, or if it's a mix of teams, that's also an open track. UA blockchain students, you should refer to what your specific instructor states when it comes to team formation. For our open track, this is available to all other participants that are not currently enrolled students at the University of Arkansas in our blockchain program. So you might be a University of Arkansas engineering student or law student or students at other universities around the world. The open track is also for industry professionals who wish to compete or just learn more about blockchain. So it's a part of this deep dive educational event. And both tracks are going to be separately judged and awarded for separate first, second, and third place prizes. So that's very exciting. So for more information, please look at our guidelines and FAQ before reaching out, but I'll stick around after our 11:30 breakout release to answer hackathon competition questions live here on Umbrella. And for now, we're going to take a quick break.
Oh, wait, before you break, yeah. I just want to, I just want to recap a couple things. So the participants are going to hear the use case pitches at 10 o'clock. Where are the written, can you tell them where the written explanations for the details of the use cases, where do they find those?
Yes, if you missed it this morning when we went over Umbrella, in your event info section, that is where you can find the link to the hard copy documents for all the use cases. You can follow through as the pitch presenters are telling you a little bit more about it and see all the details there.
Okay, and one more time, their deadline for forming teams?
Deadline for forming teams is tonight at midnight. Email blockchain@uark.edu. And then presentation deadline is April 2nd.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Catherine. So we'll take a little break now and then do our use case pitches in about 9 minutes.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
So over the last year, it's been very gratifying to listen, talk to a lot of our customers and learn from them, not only what they're using Corda for, but what problems they're trying to solve. And if I could summarize, there was maybe 3 areas that we really heard repeatedly from our customers. One was that when they're making a choice for using an enterprise blockchain and finding a partner, they're not making a choice for today, it's for the long term. So they're looking for, how can I work with someone that, in effect, I'm betting my whole business strategy on? 2 is our customers are looking to extend their existing networks. They're looking to reach new customers with this. It's the new technology, but it's also allowing them to reach new customers. And 3, you putting all that together, they want to reach those new customers, launch new products faster, quicker. How can they get to market faster? Time to value is a really, really big theme for them. Putting all that together, we've learned a lot from not only listening to the customers, but working with them. And since at R3, we've had live implementations with our customers over the last few years, we've had the opportunity to learn a lot and in listening to our customers and feed that back into Corda, into the roadmap and what we're building going forward. So when we talk to our customers and listen to how they're using Corda today and what they would look for going forward, we distilled it down into 3 main areas. One is, we mentioned that there's a big focus on getting to value quicker. How can I, as a customer, get into market, get closer to my customers faster? So the big thing there for us is to simplify. So blockchain as a topic can be quite complex. We want to make the software experience as simple as possible for the customers so that they can get into market, get live, start producing value faster, quicker. So some aspects to that means, we want to have that technology really fade into the background, have the blockchain fade into the background, put the application forward, and allow our customers to deploy Corda quicker, easier, better, faster, working with cloud deployments as well as on-premises deployments. But also, not only that, but once the deployments happen, they need to know what's happening within their network. So simplifying the way for all these nodes that are interacting to understand what's going on. That's on the simplify side. Second, I mentioned previously that these customers are looking to extend their networks. And a blockchain of one is really no good to anyone. So how do we help connect together? So around connecting not only nodes, but connecting and growing networks. The company started as a bank consortium, so we learned a lot of interesting lessons in forming the company to feed that into where we are today as an enterprise software firm. And so we try to bring that not only to the product side on Corda, but helping our customers connect and grow these ecosystems. So that's incredibly important. They're coming to us not only for the technology, but for that opportunity to grow their ecosystems, to connect to other customers. And you have those two things together. Also think about, what am I doing when I'm deploying Corda? How am I interacting with these other nodes, running these applications? So it's important not only to have that connectivity, but to be able to be transacting real value. So the promise of Corda, bringing it back to the essence, was I can create something that I can prove is digitally scarce, and be able to send that value across a broad network. So all together, that's what we're focused on into next year, but long term. Because at the end of the day, our customers are making a long-term choice. And so we want to grow the value of Corda for today, but also in the long term.
I've learned about Algorand probably since its inception, once Silvio McCaleb put out his original paper.
I've heard a lot of fantastic things about Algorand. For me, it's kind of like bringing the power back to the people. Everything about decentralization and just making things more fair and transparent, it just speaks to me. So they already have like proof of stake going on, which is great. They're not going to fork, which is fantastic. The fact that it's so fast is awesome.
So I work on the product team, and I am mostly focused on working with the Algorand mobile wallet. An exciting thing about the Algorand's future is that we're working with so many people right now. We could be working with banks, or we could be working with countries to help solve specific problems. There are a lot of. I'm working on something right now for some of the green initiatives that Algorand is focused on.
Algorand is unique because it tackles every single problem of blockchains, and that's we have scalability, we have security, and we have decentralization, right? So, and it's very difficult to find that in other blockchains.
My role is I work in the theory group. There's a great intellectual curiosity, very rigorous or challenging kind of things, which is nice because then you can really work problems out.
There are so many different things you have to learn here. It's technology, it's governance, it's financial markets. It's not just going to a company and learning one thing and one aspect of your role. So it's a diversity of problems that you have to learn. The future at Algorand, it just seems so bright. There are so many places that we can go.
Benefits of using Algorand are speed and security, scalability. We just love Algorand.
Welcome to AWS Educate, Amazon Web Services' global initiative aimed at giving students the high-tech skills they need to enter the cloud workforce and secure a great job. AWS Educate gets you on the path to job success with course content, AWS credits to use our services for free, access to events, free AWS introductory labs, and more. To get started, simply visit www.awseducate.com and take a couple of minutes to complete our application using your school email. If you do not yet have an AWS account, you will be prompted to create one during the application process. By signing up for an AWS account, you can use your AWS Educate credits towards AWS Cloud Computing Services. Here's a tour of AWS Educate and what you'll get. When you register, you'll receive an AWS credit code in your inbox. Use your credits to access AWS Cloud Computing, storage, networking, and database services for free. With your account, you'll also receive access to the AWS Educate online portal. Check out the content for classrooms. Find free online labs, assignments, blogs, white papers, and more, all in one place. Dive into the Skill Up tab and get everything you need to ramp up on cloud computing. Access events. The Events tab shows you free online events. Attend, meet the experts, and join the discussion. We hope you enjoy AWS Educate, and feel free to share this video with your friends. What are you waiting for? Go skill up for your future in the cloud.
All right, so welcome to our use pitches. So you see everybody, you can all wave. We have our experts here that are going to pitch their use cases. And so how this is going to work, we're going to roll through these pretty quickly. I'll call a use case pitcher up to the main stage. They have 5 minutes to convince you in the audience why you should select their use case pitches. So with that, I'm going to ask our use case pitchers to just turn their videos off, except for you, Colonel Regener. So Jim is a longtime friend of the Blockchain Center of Excellence. He's been a keynote speaker at our events, and he's got 2 use case pitches. So take it away, Colonel.
Good morning, everybody. Colonel James Regener, as Mary said. I'm going to pitch our first use case. I'll share the screen real quick with you guys. And go to slideshow here. All right. So whether you're Magellan, Columbus, Clark, Glenn, Armstrong, or Ride, humans have always had a desire to explore, to see what's beyond the next mountain, the ocean, and the next moon, the next star. This use case is for you explorers out there, you hackers who have an interest in space. 58 years ago, these words were said by President John F. Kennedy. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and to do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and our skills. This hackathon and this use case will serve to measure the best of your energies and your skills with blockchain as it's applied to space. The use case will look at emerging technologies in material sciences, digital logistics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, propulsion science, and will be the foundation of this exploration. Your use case will focus on the convergence of these sciences to propel humans to the moon and beyond. The business challenge is leverage the technologies available today, the attributes of blockchain to create the tools to enable a digital economy and a space ecosystem. Look at all the aspects of dealing with the unforgiving environment and the high consequence of failure present in space. Explore, define, and add context as you complete your solutions. Design and features of the blockchain solution will be a consensus mechanism should be as close as possible to net zero energy consumption. Solutions should be based on a public permissionless blockchain. The features must be secure and verifiable around data, process, and performance integrities. As often in space, you only get one shot at getting things right. The scope. Look at the specific use cases around creating a logistics fulfillment center like a Walmart in space for B2B supplies and components, and B2C, business to consumer, for the individual needs of those living in a space colony. The business value. In the future, space exploration will expand. Products will be produced and consumed in space by companies, governments, and people. We need to leverage the tools available today to enable the needed autonomy of exploration. Today, we see an environment where corporations are trying to decide if they'll play a role in space exploration and how they can. Let's show them the art of the possible. So whether we're going to design for a colony on the moon that will be used to propel exploration to Mars and beyond, or for space industry, or maybe a space factory that's floating in orbit, we need to create the tools that allow us to send information, data, that data integrity, as I mentioned before, to those entities. Also allow for process integrity. With a high consequence of failure, we're going to need to ensure that all the processes needed to manufacture something in space are completed, so that when we use it, we don't have failure. I'll leave this use case with the words of T.S. Eliot. Only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. So as we think of the future and the desire of the United States to put humans back on the moon by 2024, there is definitely a need for this use case. I look forward to the hackers that sign up for this use case. And I'd say, be audacious, be bold, expand your vision, and best of luck. Well, I'll roll right into my next use case. I was going to change my background a little bit, but I won't. There's quite a bit of emphasis around ESG, environment, social, and governance right now. And our company, Veritex, is getting ready to launch a new practice within our business, within the umbrella of our businesses. And just to give you some highlights, this past week, some of the companies that are sponsoring this event or participating in the hackathon with use cases have kind of made the news. One in particular is FedEx. FedEx has pledged that by 2040, they're going to be carbon neutral, and they've committed $2 billion to this effort. Microsoft is going to be carbon negative by 2030. IBM is going to be carbon neutral by 2030. And we see all kinds of other pledges. Walmart in particular is got a project called Gigaton, and they're looking to reduce their carbon or their greenhouse gas emissions from 2015 levels, 18% by 2025. So we start seeing what I would call a consciousness of capitalism. It's just not about the bottom line anymore. It's about the constituencies you have. And this use case is going to address that consciousness and how we measure that consciousness so that we can push that information out to the constituencies of our consumers, our investors, and our employees. Larry Fink wrote this in the beginning or the end of January, and it's his letter to CEOs. He's the CEO of BlackRock. He said, the more your company show its purpose in delivering value to its customers, its employees, and its communities, the better able you'll be to compete and deliver long-term, durable profits for shareholders. So again, looking at those constituencies and how then you can derive profits. And really, it's creating a conscience. Today's investors are interested in social issues, the environment, creating good corporate governance, and social issues. Now is the time to advance corporate conscience by creating the tools to help corporations inform their investors, employees, and communities. The business challenge is really we're going to leverage the blockchain technologies available today. We're going to create the tools to look at the impact across the pillars and themes of what I'll call the ESG wheel, which is will be provided in the attachments that we give for the use case. We'll use that ESG wheel to consider how the application of blockchain attributes can inform the ESG score and can create opportunity, new value, and really new business use cases around ESG. We'll consider a company's ability to influence their supply chain. So think in terms of a supplier now has an ESG that's mandated, a score that's mandated by a contract, and he now has to flow that down through his supply chain. How's he going to do that and enforce it? The blockchain solution, we should have a consensus mechanism that should be as close as possible to net zero energy consumption. The solution should be based on a public permissionless blockchain. I will tell you, we've been building on Algorand, that's the blockchain of choice for the Veritex platforms. Accelerate, which is our platform, is also planning on issuing carbon credits at the time of transaction on the platform. And because we're going to issue carbon credits, we're looking to create a carbon exchange layer. So if you start framing up your use cases on how then can I create this environment that will allow me to express or show to those constituencies, what my efforts are. The scope, We'll look at a specific use case in a market vertical. Accelerate is currently focused on aerospace supply chains, but that's not required for your use case. You can pick a market vertical that you'd like to explore. The business value. In the future, ESG scores will be important to a company as a credit rating. Corporations have payment terms to their suppliers based on ESG scoring. ESG scores will appear in the corporation's 10K. Corporations will curate their supply chains to maximize their ESG scores as they build a new bill of materials. And governments will implement minimum ESG score thresholds for contract awards. So as you start thinking through your use case, I'm going to leave you with the words of Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can now change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So think about those words as we go forward. There is no planet B. We have to make the Earth better for us all. Thank you, and I look forward to the teams as they take on these use cases.
Oh, Jim, thank you so much. Next, we're going to bring Johnna Moran up to the stage. And Johanna, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Are you ready to go?
I am.
Okay.
That's a hard one to follow.
I know.
As I share my one pager. Sorry there. Share cell. Big. So can everyone hear me? Good. Yes, I'm sure they can. Okay, great. It's really lovely to be here. I know that we were introduced as experts. Apologies, I am not a massive expert. We came up with this. We wanted to make something really interesting for you guys to work on. So everyone knows kind of the NFTs has kind of had a massive explosion in the last couple of weeks. And we wanted to put something forward that was interesting in this space. So for anyone out there that wants to know a little bit more about Algorand, so together with our community at the Algorand Foundation, we are building a trusted, public and permissionless infrastructure for the borderless economy. So NFTs, are non-fungible tokens, is a special cryptographically generated token that uses blockchain technology to link with a unique digital asset that cannot be replicated. Our use case is an open NFT platform on Algorand. And the statement is to build an open source platform to enable creators and artists to create, price, and sell ASAs based on NFTs without the need for software development skills. The Algorand standard asset supports the creation of both fungible and non-fungible tokens. The global community of potential creators and artists that might utilize NFTs built on the ASA standard is large, but this community will want to do so without having to understand the on-chain mechanics of creating NFTs. In order to facilitate the creation of a robust, secure, and transparent NFT ecosystem. So the scope of the work is a browser-based platform for creative community to buy, sell, or trade tokens, representing their work either physical or digital, and enable the sales of those NFTs via USDTA or USDTCA. On-chain visibility of all ASA NFTs to support transparency and confidence in NFT authenticity. So really like the back end is like what we're really interested in. It doesn't have to be beautiful and pretty, although that would be great. And just delivering the scope of work above. And good luck. I hope you find this exciting.
Well, it is exciting. When I was driving in today, very early this morning on NPR, they were talking about non-fungible tokens because of all of the activity that's happening on the internet. And the journalist was trying to buy a non-fungible token, which was a video of a French fry, but he got outbidded at $77. So I think this is going to be a great use case for the hackathon. Thank you so much. Okay, next we're actually going to see if Jared's ready. Jared, I wanted to make sure that your audio issue was fine.
Yes, is this better?
Oh, you're better. Yes. And then after Jared, I'll call you up, Peter. So Jared, I'm going to turn it over to you. Jared is from Microsoft and he's one of our executive advisory board members.
Yes, very good to be here. Let me go ahead and share my document while it's up. And I'm going to start with the vaccination. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Are you able to see it?
Yes, we can see it, Jared.
All right. I believe this is the vaccination doc up.
Yes, your document is up and we can see it.
Okay, good deal. All right. So first off, I'm going to make a little bit of an apology because I sent a document in and it has the automation headline, and I purposely crossed that out for everybody's visibility. This is the vaccination blockchain use case. So getting right into it, really excited about this year's hackathon. Really excited that we continue to power through despite what last year looked like, and 2020 and COVID and all the things that were going on last year. It just reiterated the importance for this very use case. So if you recall, this is one of the use cases that we had leveraged some time ago, and it was around the idea of people that are going from one country to another, or schools to another, or especially around like military, immigrants, people on work visas, whatever, that need to maintain the wholeness of their vaccination records. How important is it for this year? Even going from state to state, even going from across one border, even if you're only just slightly over that border for just a small duration of time that in the past would have been no big deal, but now it's an important thing. And as much as we want to say bye, Felicia, to the year 2020 and COVID, we have to trudge forward. And this is one of those areas where we have to actually really think and repurpose how we're going through with vaccination. The records that are coming out for that, not only the vaccinations that we have in the past, but the vaccines that are coming out now are absolutely important. And think of all the complexities that are going to follow, going from different countries, the maintainability, the stability, the evolution of some of those vaccines. It's just incredible as to how daunting or even how unprepared that we as the human race is in this capacity. So what this goal is that take all your vaccines, take all your records and locate them in one location, make it easy, make it accessible, make it something that can be translated from one state or one country to another. And think of all the other government locations that have to be a part of this. Schools, the employees, again, like with work visas, hospitals, what happens if you find yourself sick and a hospital in another country needs to access your records or needs to know real quickly what you've been vaccinated for. Those are the things that this blockchain hackathon is meant to help address. So with that, we would like to see how people would approach collecting these vaccination records, how to standardize them, how to create integrity. Clearly, some people are opposed to vaccines, and how would you prevent them from faking such a thing? And of course, blockchain is definitely one of the biggest values that I see in it is maintaining the integrity of whenever something says that it happened. So with that, super excited about this one. I think it's really very much needed this year, more than ever. And so hopefully we'll see some strong outcomes out of that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next screen. And Mary, if you could also tell me if I'm on the right. Okay, are you still seeing is it now the automation?
No, we're still seeing vaccination blockchain use case.
Okay, I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to reset.
Yeah, it usually works better if you stop the share and reshare. Yeah. There you go, Jared.
All right, excellent. So this one, I'm also really, I love exploration, and I love how I think one of my main purposes that I really gravitate towards is around innovation, and that's new things, and I love automation as a part of that. So the less steps that I take as a person, because of some technology that can come into fruition, the better that I like to see. I like to be a part of that. But I also see some problems or complications with any form of an automation. And whenever I refer to an automation, I'm thinking of how what is a human task that can be improved with some form of automation, either trading. What something that would take a human an hour now takes them only 10 minutes because of some new automation or some business processes that have changed. Or maybe like the quality of fruit or something or product that's coming off the line is now checked and inspected automatically through some computer vision, or even in the introduction of robots, some form of automation that comes into play that really helps create an improved circumstance, an improved quality, improved ecosystem. The problem is that whenever you think of a third party, think of a vendor, think of somebody who invented this new process, think of a team inside of a company that came up with a new way of doing it. Well, they put it into motion, but then they have only very limited ways of actually tracking the value. And whenever they track that value, and that value is called ROI, called return on investment. And then what happens, several years down the road, whenever they may need to re-enhance or improve their system, here comes budgetary conversations, and their value is a little bit lost because of some other form or some other, new potential way of looking at it. Whereas they've built up this existing automation platform, has built some tremendous return on value, gives it return on investment, and yet that story gets lost. So the thought here is, what does it look like whenever you have these automation systems and they're able to build their own rapport because of written values that have happened at the business level? If a specific automation task comes into play and the school or the business comes into motion, it produces some form of value, right? Let's just take this for an example. Let's go back to the inspecting the fruit. You got cognitive services, you've got some camera, it's checking the fruit, it's producing quality, it's improving the quality of what the end consumers use, what the business is seeing. There's value in that. How does that actually get recorded? How does that actually get handled and displayed in such a way that's got value to them? I'd also like to pose some other thing that comes with this, is that in using that same exact thought process, you have an assembly line where that fruit's coming off. Well, if the factory or the plant or whatever that's handling such a product shuts down for the night, what happens to all that compute? It just sits there and consumes energy, does nothing, works against a previous use case about carbon neutrality, and it goes. So what could you then use of maybe perhaps in the form of digital wallets that would consume or share that compute that would otherwise be sitting idle, and then further increase the value that would go with that actual solution, with that automation. And you see ways in which different autonomous systems can shake hands, share resources, trade coinage, trade crypto, get on the trading platform, and be able to improve both their values, and then do so in such a way that it can be transparent and visible. So with that, I think hopefully you'll see some. This is a large business use case, meaning there's a lot of companies that are really struggling with the different permutations of autonomous environments, and it has I think a lot of legs to it.
Well, Jared, thank you so much, and I also want to thank you. I first met you in 2018 at our one of our first hackathons.
Yes.
And you come and participate and engage with our students and our other participants every year. So thank you again. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Okay, with that, I'd like to invite Peter Lee to the stage to talk about two use cases from R3. Okay, Peter, you're good to go.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lasty. So I'm going to share my screen. Is the screen shared?
Oh, it looks beautiful. Yes,
okay,
I can see it.
Cool. Thank you. So hello, everyone. My name is Peter Lee. I'm from the developer relations team at R3. The R3 company also coming in as one of the blockchain platform for this hackathon. So we have been a strong leader in the financial industry for the past couple of years, but now we are expanding our focus into more industries. And today we are actually bringing 2 use cases that are in logistic and also agriculture industry. We are excited today because they are actively being developed today by our client. But we are also, we take the opportunity and then present those into the to the students to inspire them. Also, it's like we believe in the capability that students also have the potential can actually help our clients as a return if they think about something the client might just never thought about. And with me today, I also have Dr. Alyssa DiCaprio in the chat to answer any questions if students have any chat. I will be hosting a 2-hour session, a technical work session, like the implementation session this afternoon. So without further ado, let's take a look. And also I hope Kat stay nice and quiet over there and don't steal my show. Let's take a look. The first one, logistic. So the first use case is about behavior-based driver insurance. So it's a combination between blockchain and IoT, and then some sort of financial related practice, meaning the insurance. I would just go straight with a use case. So Amazon drivers kept the economy moving during the COVID pandemic, but managing a commercial fleet is all about risk management. This includes overseeing everything from fuel consumption to productivity and speed management, or even the healthiness of the drivers. So imagine the following use case. During the COVID time, that regulation requires the drivers only drive 10 hours per day. So I think during the other time it might be 12 or 14, but sometimes they want to stretch a little bit and then make the last delivery. So how we can combine IoT or those sensors on the truck, or even you have Apple Watch or whatever on the driver's wrist, and connect those information together. So if you think about blockchain, everything at the end of the day is a distributed ledger system. So how information can be shared on a need-to-know basis. They are private, but also have the sense of transparency. And we talking about the use cases we offer is a behavior-based driver insurance. So when things happened, so will all the data be shared with the insurance company immediately? Right now, the existing technology will take a lot of times to communicate between the driver, the fleet company, or even Amazon, and then the insurance company that Amazon hired. So is there a way that you can build a system that data can flow seamlessly and then reduce those business operation costs in a way to expedite everything, so it will benefit the company and also benefit the driver as a return? So the main goal, or sort of the design feature of the blockchain-based solution, will be focusing on how would you connect the IoT device or telematics device to a blockchain database, and how would you sort of use the distributed sharing system to optimize a previous non-blockchain fleet management software. And yeah, the business value again is to reduce the cost of inefficient driver behavior and fast insurance payout and better monitoring. So there we go. That's our first use cases. It's about logistic. So I will move on to our second use cases. Is actually about agriculture. It's about produce characteristic. It's a small thing that as an end consumer we always cared about, but we never really think about how we can from the technology level to guarantee it, or make it the promise. So let me explain a little bit. So when you go to a supermarket, if you want to get a bag of, let's say, organic tomato, do you have the guarantee that it's actually coming from a farm that produces the organic food? So you are depending on the market. Supermarket is telling you the truth. And think about the supermarket. The supermarket is depending on the farmer or the logistic company and the wholesaler telling them the truth. But is there a way that all the agriculture information that during the growing of like the produce is recorded and shared with every single participant of the supply chain. So imagine you can have a blockchain application that track the food characteristic that allow farmers to just, easily to sort of show or prove their the quality of their produce, and they can actually, as a return, get a higher price by guarantee those qualities. So again, I have another practical use case. So if you are have ever been to the East Coast, Sweetgreens is a large salad fast chain on the East Coast, and they like to use sweet tomatoes. And if they take an order to the farmers, but do not know if they will receive the correct type of tomatoes in advance, so when the deliverer actually made to them on the day, they have to use them, otherwise they will throw away. So between totally waste money and then use it on the spot, then it's a trade-off between the quality of their salad and then lose the money. So think about your application can help companies, restaurants, or whatever, like the receiver of the produce. Your application can keep all the information that the farmer basically produced, the soil level, right? The nitrogen level, the nitrate level of the soil, like the size of the tomato, and all the like the spray that they put on the agriculture, all the seed they use. If they can have all the information seamlessly transact to the end buyer, and eventually maybe us consumers, make the application a business to customer if you would like. So what that will benefit both the farmer, because they're gonna have a higher payout, because they have an easy way to prove their promise is made. And also as a customer, we are more comfortable basically believing in what the store is telling us, and then the store is more comfortable using those produce, not worrying about food safety and etc. Business value, more clarity in the supply chain, and easier product recall for food safety. And thank everyone for watching. I will host a session later this afternoon, and if you want to reach out to us, you can join the slack.corda.net. Thank you.
So Peter, and I also was going to thank Johnna. So Algorand and R3, not only did you pitch use cases, but our participants can learn how to use your platforms by going to your technical workshops later this morning or this afternoon. Peter, thank you so much for being here, and we'll also see you this afternoon. Thank you.
Sure. So,
okay, next up, we have a homegrown, one of our own, Dr. Amir Phillips. He is from the Department of Economics here at the Sam Walton College of Business. And this is a real passion of his, helping some of our students. So with that, Dr. Phillips, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I can see your screen, so I'll go on mute now.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Dr. Phillips, and I am with the Economics Department at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. And this case involves the use of cryptocurrencies to pay for tuition at the university level. Now, the business challenge statement here is there's really two components, a student component and administrative component. The administrative component is the more significant component because that's the greater obstacle. And it deals with the generally university administration's inability to quickly adopt emerging technologies that pose higher risk compared to traditional payment systems. On the student side of it, they pay disproportionately high fees for international students pay high fees for tuition. Most banks charge a fee to exchange currency, plus the wire transfer fees, which typically can add about 3% more to the total tuition bill. And that's excluding other costs that may be involved if they pay for housing the international student or food expenses. So also another factor is the time. It may take just a couple of days, but oftentimes it can take up to 2 weeks. University of Arkansas uses Flywire, which is a payment platform, but it does charge about 1.5%, and that the student is paying for. Other providers are more along the lines of 2 to 3%. So we're looking here to see if blockchain payments can provide a secure, which is critical, and reliable way to make faster and cheaper cross-border tuition payments. Interest from students, we believe, is quite high in this regard. So, like I said, the focus here is on more so on the administrative side. The target audience, as to students, they have a decent amount of experience using cryptocurrencies and are similar to the cryptocurrencies using Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. And so we feel they could hopefully transition to a new system pretty well. The university administration side currently utilizes previously established systems that involve less risk, and switching to blockchain technology, they certainly view would present stark challenges for them that are not present in the current system using Flywire. So the design element here, which is critical in a good answer, needs to focus heavily on the administrative side. In extremely low to no volatility with payment amount, with the risk on the payment amount. In other words, currency risk has to be diminished or greatly mitigated for administration to consider any viable answer. In addition, clear regulation and compliance framework to ensure legal validity and integrity of the payment amount over time. And remember, in the university administration, we're dealing with accountants. They're very concerned with legal validity and integrity with their financial statements, as they should be. So an administrative side, a solution needs to maintain also student privacy while also being easily and securely managed by university administrator. So not only does the use have to be easy for the student, but also keep in mind at a technological level for administration, because many of them may not have the blockchain technological experience in administrating a payment system. The answer should probably integrate with current systems like UA Connect, CashNet, or direct wire to UA accounts. Most importantly, in any answer, the issue of compliance and security is paramount. It must meet U of A finance systems policy and relative state statutes. Any entity that holds money, and that means any store of value for the university, must maintain FDIC insurance 100% of the time. And University of Arkansas also has to meet regulatory requirements in alignment with the Bank Secrecy Act, so as not to inadvertently engage in any illegal activity or tax fraud, because they have to comply with fully audited financial reports from firms rated by the top 3 rating agencies for credit risk, and they're not going to endanger that. So on the student side, it's got to be easy to understand for student payment, and you'll have a better chance of convincing administration if your answer also somehow conveys financial literacy to the student body and improves education in terms of blockchain, payment systems, accounting, finance, or financial literacy for the student body. The university administration, even the payment system department, does care about the educational effect on the student usage issue. Okay, lastly, business value. The students here clearly benefit from a lower cost, secure and fast transactions, and this is particularly true for international students from countries that have suffered from high inflation. So for example, Argentina, or any country that switches their currency, which happened after Eastern Europe, after the Great Wall fell. So where there's currency manipulation or inflation, those international students would benefit most clearly. Administratively, the business value is easy to use, low cost, and more convenient payment systems to attract and retain future student populations. In addition, don't discount the marketability for the University of Arkansas to come across as a cutting edge in blockchain technology, because you're extending blockchain technology not just in logistics for JB Hunt or Tyson Foods or Walmart. You're extending blockchain technology in cryptocurrency, global money, for the first time. University of Arkansas is a top 30 business school. For them to extend blockchain technology in a new area and do it successfully would be huge. Not to mention, you would be saving students internationally each and every year many, many millions of dollars, which is a good thing. So good luck.
Dr. Phillips, thank you so much for your use case. I think it really helps in with our curriculum too, because we often talk about, technologists get very excited about building technical solutions, and your proposal is absolutely technically easy to do. The harder part is the change management. So this would be a good opportunity for teams who want to really understand the obstacles to innovation adoption in a real world context. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Jesus Pizarro, another longtime friend of the Blockchain Center of Excellence here at the beginning. I first met Jesus at our 2018 Hackathon. I think you were right across from Jared's booth, and you've been a great supporter. And I know you work very closely with Catherine Carlisle on some actual cryptocurrency and blockchain enabled applications. So, Jesus, are you ready to take the stage?
Yes, I am ready, and thank you again for the invitation.
Okay, Dr. Phillips, thank you for releasing your screen. I also like your virtual background there, Jesus.
Yes, this is me, of course, and my daughter. This is in Puerto Rico. I don't know if you know, but the first Hafer project was in Puerto Rico in 1944. So in the 75th anniversary, I represent Hafer in the community where we delivered the first 17 cows.
That's wonderful. That's
yes.
wonderful. Okay, I'll turn my video off and let you have the spotlight. Thank you.
Excellent. So as many of you know, Hafer International is an international NGO based in Little Rock, Arkansas. Our mission is to end hunger and poverty while we are taking care of the earth. And we do our mission with sustainable agriculture around the world. And a sustainable agriculture is an agriculture that takes into consideration the natural capital, the human capital, and the social capital. We are in Africa, in Latin America, and Asia. We are aligned with sustainable development goals. As you know, we are in an existential crisis. If we don't solve the climate change problem, our grandson, granddaughter are not going to have the benefit that are not going to enjoy the natural resources that we enjoy. Our goal, we work with small farmers around the world, and it's very important that you know that more than 17% of the food that we consume comes from small farmers, and the problem is many of them they are they are suffering from poverty. So we work around all the value chain. We focus in low developing economy where they don't have enough resources. We support them with social capital, with invest in asset, in training, and we try to move them through the value chain to try to obtain an inclusive and fair market. As many of you know, we start working with blockchain in 2016, with the new, with the leadership in Hafer, we want to use technology to accelerate our mission. And normally we identify value chain, we deploy technology, capital, and we try to accelerate, to do a leapfrogging of the small farmer to connect to the international market, or to a fair market. In 2017, we start working with Bitcoin in 2015. And the reason that we start assisting Bitcoin is because we believe that the money is digital, as we can see it, what is happening in the last year. But also, we were very impressed from Bitcoin protocol because not only they create a new asset, a new type of money, but also Bitcoin proposed a new type of governance and also bring a new paradigm shift in terms of what transparency means. And one of the first use case that we saw very appropriate for blockchain technology is the digitalization of the value chain, because in our view, if we can provide transparency in the value chain, we can solve many of these problems. One of the first use case that we and Pete from R3, he have a similar use case. The challenge that we have in this area is so far is the status quo, is regulation, and because the ecosystem is not there. We are working right now with IBM in coffee and cocoa. And I want to show you this diagram to give you one, to explain what we are trying to do. We are trying to support a small farmer, not only in the digitalization of the value chain, but in order to do the digitalization, also we need to create a minimum viable ecosystem. They need to have access to energy. They need to have access to telecommunication. They need to have a technical assistance. They need to have working capital. And when we talk about transparency in the value chain, it's not only about where the product comes from. It's about a fair price for the product that they produce. Because what is happening right now, the status quo is that big corporations are making money at the expense of the small farmers because they are invisible. We don't see them. And we believe that we provide more transparency, we can solve many of these problems. And also, James from Veritex, the future is about sustainability. He talked about ESG, environmental, social, and governance. That is the way that corporations define sustainability. It's not, the future is not about how much money you are making. Is in addition that, of course, you need to make money to be sustainable, but also what is your impact to the natural resources? What is your contribution to the society? And what is your contribution to the human capital? That is what is going to be relevant in the future. And because transparency is self-regulation, that is one of the innovations that Bitcoin also brings that not many people bring. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, we had some government officials that are talking about how to regulate Bitcoin. And the big miss is that one of the innovations of Bitcoin is that they are self-regulator because the power of transparency. And this power of transparency is not only good for value chain, but also is good for government and not-for-profit organization. And that is the business case that we want to present today. In the last 3 or 4 years, we have been a lot of development in the blockchain sector and in technology. And my challenge to you is how my international NGO leverage innovative technology to better collaborate with donor organizations like the United Nations, International Farm Agency for Development, UNDP, USAID, Inter-American Development Bank, and local community to achieve development outcomes. One of our biggest challenges, how can we mobilize more resources so we can help more small farmers around the world? The business value is, I would say, that is Sustainable Development Goal number 9. I don't know, but the United Nations created the 17th Sustainable Development Goal to solve the problem of climate change. So this is the business value. I will be available to support you and to answer any other questions. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. I appreciate you as always. Next, I get to meet somebody new. So Ashton Barger, I haven't met you yet. Hi, Ashton.
Yes, hello.
Thank you for being here today. So you are from the Blockchain Education Network, and we're keen to hear your use case. So I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Glad to be here today. All right. So I do not have a slide deck, but I'm going to kind of just talk through the solution with you all. It's a very exciting one and near and dear to me and Blockchain Education Network, which is who I am representing today. So basically the solution is around blockchain credentialing for credentials and online courses that students take, along with really just incentivizing the continuation of taking online courses and really just continuing to finish degrees. And so to give a little background, Blockchain Education Network is a global network of students, universities, alumni, and professors that is dedicated to giving students and blockchain clubs access to employers and jobs, online educational events, other clubs, students, and alumni to really help them develop, grow, and become leaders in the blockchain space. And so we're connected to many different universities online. And something that we've noticed, and obviously I've noticed since I just graduated from school last year, is that, with COVID, things have changed a lot recently. And so it's really changed the environment of education specifically. And so with that, a lot of students went from having to rely on their on-campus classes and, have been just kind of going about those classes regularly to switching to this new way of doing things, which is all online, really. And, there's kind of like hybrid ways of doing online and on-campus courses, but I don't think the online courses, online certifications are really going to go away. And so students are continuing to supplement or forego traditional degrees with online courses, massive open online certifications and courses, and other kind of like boot camps or certifications to really just get scaled up in other technologies and things they want to learn. And so with these online learning platforms, it's really tough to incentivize students to continue and complete their courses. Students are getting burnt out, and it's tough to stay engaged online. And then really on the other side of things, it's hard to really verify the credentials of a degree through, obviously you can share a transcript or you can share, your physical copy of your degree, but there's many ways of thinking about digitizing these credentials online and having employers be able to value the authenticity and the academic rigor of these courses that may just all be online, along with academic fraud continuing to be a big problem within the industry. And so with this blockchain-based certifications and degrees is really a solution we're looking for that would have employers really trust and be able to back up what someone says they have completed in an interview or on a resume. And then further, there's also the opportunity to gamify and incentivize online academic courses to reward students and empower students to continue the pursuit of their degree and finish out what they started online. And so the design and kind of features of this solution would be sort of like a Coinbase earn for the learning and earning of online courses, to where you can incentivize people to actually continue on with it and reward someone with a type of cryptocurrency, for example. It's just kind of like an idea there. And then really what we want to see is something that's easy to use for university administrators, online course platforms, and students that would be interacting with it. And then kind of just looking for an initial MVP that could be deployed to a university campus or delivered to a group of students online. And so with this, we are hoping to reduce operational costs for university and online university administrators, reducing cases of academic fraud, increasing the course completion rates for students, and increasing the successful job placement for graduating students. And so just to kind of give more info, Blockchain Education Network is currently trying to build out an online learning platform specifically dedicated to blockchain, but it's aimed to be free for anyone that wants to learn the technology, along with integrating a coin into the system to incentivize that learning. So we as an organization are actively trying to work on this, figure this out. So any students and teams that come up with ideas, we are looking to support during the competition and after the competition with connection to other students and universities to test with it, venture capitalists and other competitions and grants that are happening all the time to continue to grow and develop the solution. So with that, we wish anyone luck. And if this was kind of a little vague, we're happy to give any further guidance and explanations to the teams.
Ashton, thank you so much. You know, it really resonated with me when you were talking about doing things like gamification. We have a professor here that just won an international dissertation award, and that was what he was looking at, is how can we gamify if things in corporate America or things in higher education, and incentives become really, really important. Thank you so much for being here, and it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'll get to know you a little better during the hackathon event. So that's great.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I'm so excited for my next presenter. This is my beloved friend and co-author, Professor Eran Carmel. And you'll see that there's some replication across the use cases, which is fine. We've got multiple use cases on supply chain. You see a lot on financial payments. And now you're going to see a second use case that is related to vaccination. So Professor Carmel, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Professor Lassity. It's good to be here and good to join you. All right, so
okay, I'm going to turn my video off.
I'm speaking to you from Washington, D.C. So this is a joint effort by the University of Arkansas, Professor Lassity, and myself at American University in Washington to pitch the idea of a distributed health passport. Now, the gentleman from Microsoft, Jared from Microsoft, already pitched something very, very similar. If you're going to work on blockchain, you should work on one of the great challenges of our time. So we already had a pitch about global warming, and this is the other great challenge of our time, which is the global pandemic. So there's really nothing more important than these. Let me frame this. You can read the description in what you were handed, but let me frame this in terms of getting on an airplane, which is really what led me to be interested in this personally. So the challenge is that before you get on an airplane or are allowed to visit a certain country, you will need to show with very high certainty that you have been vaccinated and that the issuer of your vaccination is someone who can be trusted. So let me pull up the screen at this point and share my screen. And you should be able to see the description there. So there's what's called the trust triangle in this case. Oh, no, let me share the screen properly. So now you should be able to see it. There's the trust triangle that you should be able to see. And there's the individual, the verifier, and the issuer. And this is where that trust triangle and blockchain overlap so nicely. The individual, of course, has personally identifiable information, PII, and that should not be shared, or only elements of it should be shared when the individual wishes to. In terms of getting on a flight, the individual generates presumably some kind of QR code and is able to certify that he or she is able to get on an airplane or arrive at a certain country. The verifier is the airline or the passport control at the destination. And they have to, of course, match the individual with what they're showing. But in addition, they have to be able to verify both the issuer and the certification of the vaccination itself. Finally, we have the issuer. That's typically the health clinic. And they have to be a trusted health clinic. So that has to be verified off of some kind of list. So this is a grand challenge for all of us for this era of getting us out of this pandemic, is to be able to generate these health passports. As you can tell from our interest and Jared from Microsoft, this has attracted an awful lot of industry attention, and we want to be the first to that. So in the hackathon, we hope that you will develop this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend and co-author, for being here, and thank you for presenting our joint use case. So next we have up now, John Ryan. I have not met you, so you're another person that I'm excited to meet from Moonin, and I understand that that is Gaelic for trust. Did I say that correctly?
Let's give John a minute to get on here.
Okay. Oh, hello, Professor Conway. So
Sorry.
you also, no, it's awesome because we're always happy to see our colleague, Professor Dan Conway, who also helped with this use case. So John and Dan, thank you so much for your submission.
And good pronunciation. Muinin is indeed a Gaelic word, and it means trust. And so we have a very few slides, and there is a Gaelic saying at the bottom of those. So without further ado, we'd like to, first of all, thank the University of Arkansas. It's great to hear so many thoughtful things about different supply chains. And the supply chain that we're going to be talking about today is the supply chain for software.
Yes. All right, I'm going to turn mine off. Go ahead.
Basically does not exist. So it's a really interesting problem. So on the assumption that the screen is now properly shared. The hackathon use case that we're presenting today is in fact associated with the core of our project, which is building a robust and trustworthy, that word trust again, supply chain for software. And one of the parts of this that we're interested in exploring via the hackathon is using some of the tools of blockchain or other decentralized technologies to provide credit, kudos if you like, praise, and funds for the creators of software. So the problem statement, if you like, for our whole company starts with the fact that a lot of software is open source. Approximately nearly 3/4 of software now being commercially used starts out open source. And it's actually being supplied by something that feels like an old-fashioned flea market. People don't really know how good the product is, how good the code is that they're getting. And many of the libraries aren't required in base images. Nobody really knows who provided which code. So that's a terrifying way to build an industrial scale or a government critical mission application. So the vision of the whole of the Muinin project is actually to ensure that all software that is developed is secure, that it's optimized, and that it is what it's supposed to be. And that the core of our project works on providing a rigorous, enduring description of the provenance, that lovely French word meaning you know where your wine or cheese came from, the provenance of software as and when it was built. You can actually go all the way back through the history of the code and find out where it came from, who wrote it, and why. But our question to the hackathon participants is slightly different, but obviously associated, which is how do we use some of the tools of decentralized technologies, blockchain, and so on, to provide credit and funds for coders. So the ideas here include tracking what each coder has contributed. So when we've looked at the number of contributions into an industrial build, there may be 600 commits from dozens of different contributors. We want to be able to make sure that the people who are producing great code get great credit. Kudos, well done. Maybe that just belongs in your CV. Maybe it helps you get the promotion at work. But also that as appropriate under license conditions, that in fact money can be sent. One of the most terrifying things about the way the internet runs today is that the single author who created the largest lookup for DNS, that's the routing systems within the internet, did it for free, and because it was for free, he had there was no mechanism to pay him to support it. And for over a decade, it didn't get supported until there was basically a GoFundMe. That's nonsense. It's code. We can do this. So our goal here is to build a ledger system that enables transparency into a coder's history of commits. Are they any good? And then a cryptocurrency that compensates code suppliers who contribute quality code. And it supports suppliers by allowing them to register hashes of their code for intellectual property purposes, and by allowing them to specify licensing terms. Obviously, we'd like this to be something that was lightweight in a couple of ways. Since one of the transactions is basically just credit, well done, there's no financial value to that. But there would be others where there might be large numbers of small financial transactions. So within that, a means to evaluate who receives what rewards, and the ability to provide the transactions that give the rewards. So for example, consider a build of, let's say, 600 individual commits over time. Some have clear author designation and some don't. Some have been committed with signatures that are authenticated, others do not. And they're very different. Bill is an individual contributor working on his own time. Susie works for a large corporation and the corporation takes the rights. Alexa is a master coder. Dana is better than me, but is still adequate. And Carla, there's a hidden joke in that name, is deeply, deeply suspect. So the names themselves tell you a little bit about the contribution, the value of their code, and what and how they should be paid. So what would make a blockchain-based solution successful? Well, you as coders will be thinking about that. What would make it interesting for me to be a participant so that transaction credits and financial rewards came to me? And what would make it worthwhile for a large corporation? We've got some sponsoring this event, to whom many thanks. What would make it worthwhile for them to either be on the receiving or on the paying end of a transaction flow? Likewise, we ask that you're aware, you think about what else could be out there. There are things that, for example, put software on a blockchain, which strikes us as odd, since the point of software is that it changes. And design a superior solution that people would really want to use, coders would want to use, corporations would want to use. And how would it be governed? Who will build the code? Where are decisions made, and so forth? So very simply, in wrap up, it's great to be here talking with the University of Arkansas Center for Excellence in Blockchain, because of its focus on the supply chain, and in particular because of our interest in building a really reliable, trustworthy supply chain for software, and in this particular hackathon instance, to provide a mechanism for rewarding those who are creating the code. Thank you very much.
Oh, John, I can see why Dan always raves about you.
Uh-oh.
So thank you so much. You know, I'm also seeing opportunities for this case too, something like preventing something like solar winds, right? How do we know we're running the version of software we think that we're running? I mean, there's a lot to go with this use case. And, you know, since software is native digital product, you know, using these technologies not only to recognize and incentivize good behavior in the ecosystem, we can also see it increasing the security of the use of open source software. So thank you so much, John, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have, yes, we have Gokul Kandaraju from IBM. He is also one of the executive advisory board members. He's one of the leaders in the IBM Food Trust. And Gokul, we're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Mary. Interestingly, I don't know why there is an issue sharing screen. Let me just do it. Tell me if you can
Okay, I'll hang out until your screen is being shown.
Sure.
It might have been because John had just stopped sharing, so you might try again.
Should we do Gilda, and then in the meantime I'll figure this out?
Okay, sure, that's fine. Gilda Javaheri from Golden State Foods. Thank you for being flexible. You're up, Gilda. So Gilda is also one of our executive advisory board member firms, and she's such a great supporter. She participates actively in everything. She's also going to be one of our judges in the hackathon. She puts her hand up to help whenever we need it here at the University of Arkansas. So thank you, Gilda.
Well, thank you, Mary, for the opportunities. I want to say I've heard a lot of fantastic, exciting use cases today. So I just want to ask the audience not quite make their selections yet till they hear about Golden State Foods use case. And with that, I just bear with me while I share my screen. Hopefully I don't have the same issue as
Mary, if I if I quit and I join back, will I be in the same room?
Yeah, I think as long as, I don't know. That's a good point. I will text, while Gilda's talking, I'll text somebody. We'll help you out.
Thank you.
Look at your email.
Okay,
thank you. Gilda, we can see your slides, so I'm going to go on mute for a second. It's all yours.
Excellent. Thank you. So hello, everyone. I'd like to start by giving you a brief introduction to Golden State Foods, as I think it would be relevant to see the breadth of our business. If I can advance this, sorry. Okay. GSF is one of the largest diversified suppliers to quick service restaurant industry, as well as retail and convenience stores, servicing over 125,000 stores in over 40 countries on 5 continents. Our core businesses include protein products like beef patties, liquid products like ketchup, dairy like some of your favorite ice cream and shakes, produce like mixed salads, and we also have full line logistics making the last mile deliveries. GSF also the company also runs the GSF Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization nationwide helping families and children in need. So although we all represent different industries and come from different walks of life and different disciplines, it's safe to say we have one thing in common, and that is we all eat food. As much as we enjoy a global food supply, the convenience of seasonal varieties brings complexities. The global food supply safety, food safety, is the concerns around that continues to grow. No wonder only 1 in 4 consumers trust today's food system. As reported by World Health Organization, over 600 million people every year get sick due to foodborne diseases, and that is really 1 in 10 people. We cannot really simply ignore these statistics because we too can be a meal away from becoming one of those numbers. Another challenge in global food supply is food waste. Did you know we throw away 1/3 of food produced around the world every year? That's stunning. That's about $990 billion wasted food. So the concerns in global food supply, these concerns have made trusted transactions essential. At GSF, our vision is to really reshape the traditional supply chain, which tends to be linear and gives you one up, one down visibility. With blockchain, we are envisioning a more instantaneous, collaborative information sharing supply chain, where every entity in the ecosystem can transact in an immutable, secure, trusted manner. And ultimately, delivering the trust.
Gilda, you went on mute for a second. There you go.
So where did I stop? Or where did you?
Oh, I jumped in once. I think I lost about 3 words. I jumped right in to save you, Gilda.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So you heard that ultimately we are trying to deliver the trust that customers expect in every bite they take in their food.
Yeah, it's worth hearing twice. Thank you.
Excellent. But to get to that state, we need every participant in the ecosystem to collaborate and share information. But given the size of this industry and the geographical dispersion of its participants, it's reasonable to expect that participants in the supply chain will have multiple blockchain platform options to join. And the challenge we must address is how the many platforms for blockchain will come together, share data in near real time, and manage to coexist. So the challenge today for the brilliant minds on this call is really simply how to solve for blockchain interoperability. And more specifically, how do we solve for cross-chain transaction processing? How do we unlock shared value across connected ecosystem and avoid vendor locking? And finally, if it is feasible to connect these multiple platforms or some of these blockchain platforms, how do we avoid incurring each subscription fees and additional costs? Remember, we do not want to create islands of information. We are aiming for ocean of insights. We are aiming to deliver that trust in every bite of food. So with that, I want us to get ready, wear your seatbelts and get ready to kick off and solve for interoperability. And I turn it back to you, Mary. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, yes. I love your use case on interoperability. This is so crucial. I mean, we even heard today how many, we're going to end up with lots of different solutions trying to solve the same problem. We're not going to end up with one application per big problem like sustainability or vaccination. So it's going to be vital that these systems can be interoperable. So thank you for your use case.
Thank you.
I also love the visual you had on your slides. That was very nice. Gogo, let's give you another run through here. We got your slides. Very good.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to Catherine. So let me just go full screen.
Okay, I'm gonna
let me know if you can see
the
that.
stage. Yeah, see it great.
Awesome. So my name is Gokul. I'm one of the architects for IBM Food Trust, lead for many of the clients, and this is an interesting so-called problem that we are beginning to see. And I thought, let me leverage the power of students, right? So here is the problem, and it's a very concrete problem. And I have a couple of slides where I'm going to show this in a more visual-like manner. So given, and we are talking about supply chain, right? Where there are suppliers, retailers, farmers, and so on. So given a history of shipment and purchase order data, and next slide, I'll talk about some details, but what was ordered, how much ordered, what was ordered, how much was delivered, right? And also the events on the supplier side, such as production events and so on, and maybe even weather. Can we develop a model to predict whether the supplier will meet the targets, right? In terms of how much was delivered and whether it was delivered on time. Those two targets, right? Whether supplier will be able to meet them. And this can be extremely useful because if a retailer figures out, hey, I think this shipment is going to be late or this shipment is not going to be full, they can look for alternate sources. Similarly, even if suppliers determine that early on, they can themselves look for extra production mechanisms or getting alternate sources of raw material and so on. Retailers can also think of rerouting between their existing distribution centers or across stores to actually make sure consumer demand is met. to be a little more precise, you can think of this as a process flow. There is supplier in the middle, there's a logistics, and then there's retailer. So the way a typical process happens is there's a purchase order that a retailer submits, right? And this data, whether there's some assumptions we can make. The harvest or production sometimes may happen even before a purchase order is submitted. But in this case, let's say there's a harvest event that happens on the supplier side, which will contain, what is the product quantity lot. Then there's packing, putting the information, putting the goods into pallet and the information into like an event. And these are various events that you can think of coming into blockchain. Like a platform like IBM Food Trust provides that. And then there's shipping, right? Shipping of the same goods to the retailer. And that's where weather can play and have an impact. Right? So if you look at this end-to-end process, retailer submits purchase orders, supplier has these 3-4 events to fulfill that purchase order, and then the retailer receives some purchase order, the shipment, and then he goes through the quality, and the retailer may reject some of the goods because either if they were damaged on the way or the quality was not good, and some of them are accepted. So using this kind of information and model, we would like to achieve that goal of, can you predict in advance whether everything will be done on time? To go a little more in depth, and you have only 1 month, right, the students. So I just wanted to be as concrete as possible so that you can just get running. So you can think of different different tables where a supplier data, for example, production, packing, shipping, right? Similarly, on the retailer side, purchase order, receiving, how much was desired and what was received, and so on. And you can think of weather data, which is optional. And remember that without blockchain, retailer would have their own siloed information, and so would supplier. Blockchain is actually enabling all these parties to share data. And you can think of this all the way going to the farm. But for the simplicity, for the sake of simplicity, I just limited to 2 entities in the first model, supplier and retailer, right? And so you can make necessary assumptions. But given these data, can we develop a model that, let's say now a new purchase order is given by the retailer, right? Can we predict? And the key thing here is that model has another input. Let's say now the supplier has produced something, right? As you saw in the previous diagram, that will affect the model and the predictability. Or the supplier has shipped, maybe the probability of reaching the target is much higher, right? So given that, can we predict 2 things, very concrete? Whether the shipment will be delivered on date requested by the retailer, and second, the shipment will contain the desired quantity. So that's the problem that you can solve. And blockchain not only plays a role in actually enabling sharing of data, right, and make necessary assumptions. You can generate data for this using some distributions and so on. The key thing is thinking about the model. So blockchain not only helps in sharing of data, but also once the model is trained, blockchain can be used to implement this prediction logic in smart contracts, which means both retailer and supplier will have a view, right? Kind of an agreed a priori smart contract. And then suppliers can also take actions to see that everything is delivered on time. So that's the overall big picture, right? Let me stop. That's it, Mary.
So Gokul, thank you so much for ending on this, because I started our talking points this morning at 9, that in order to solve a real big ecosystem problem, it's going to take more technology than just blockchain. And I love that your use case in particular brought in artificial intelligence, and I'm sure there'll be IoT devices that would be helpful in your use case.
Right.
So
and also I forgot to mention that for the groups that sign up for this use case, we'll definitely consider providing access to some of the IBM Food Trust platform so that they can maybe make use of it.
Oh, that's a good seduction bonus there. That's great. I'd like very briefly for all of our use case pictures to everybody come on. So turn your cameras on for 1 second. unmute your mics. And since the students can't do this, we're going to do this. Okay. We're going to give ourselves a round of applause. That was awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to have to say goodbye to our beautiful participants today. Bring Catherine on quickly because we're going right into tech workshops in about 6 minutes. So Catherine, can you come back on and help our participants know where and how to go next?
Yes, I just want to reiterate, those were amazing use cases. Thank you all. You did a great job pitching. Now we're going to move into, I'm going to show you how to move to the tech workshops right before we release. And just know that I'll stick around a little bit after. If you're on the stream tab, you can type in questions in the Q&A chat there, and I'll just be able to answer those live. I know that there's some questions about our competition. We've already received some via email, so I'll be able to answer those live for you once we release for our tech workshops. As far as navigating around Borella, if you are on your event homepage, you can see this tab here. You can click right into these workshops and immediately start attending. Just make sure you're watching the times for when they are available. So right now we're going to kick off with R3's quarter blockchain workshop and 2 separate Ethereum workshops. One is a beginner workshop, so Intro to Ethereum with Dr. Zach Steelman, one of our University of Arkansas faculty. And then the other one is led by Consensus, our friend Clemens Wan, and he's going to lead Ethereum open protocols workshop, maybe a little bit of DeFi sprinkled in there as well. So super interesting, a little bit more intermediate and advanced. But those are our first 3 to kick off right now. After that, at 1:30, we'll have Algorand and Stellar available, those 2 workshops. And then we'll end the day off with 2 kind of more business-based workshops. If you don't consider yourself extremely technical, we'll have AWS Educate, Mike Bryant presenting Pathways to Cloud-Enabled Jobs. And then our friends Kurt Wedgwood and Emily Wong from IBM that will do the key to hackathon success, the user. So we highly encourage you to attend several of these events if you can, and they'll all be recorded after if you want to hop around or there's something you think you might miss. All right. Well.
All right, great. I'll see you all in one of the rooms.
See you all later. Bye. Bye, Gokul, Gilda.
Bye.
I'm going to move over to the stream tab now. And if you have questions, please place them in this chat here and we can slowly talk through some of those. I'll pull them up. I can, while you're taking time to form your questions that you may have about the competition, I would love to just give you a kind of intro into some of the things that we have been emailed on where people are looking for teams. So if you're looking for a hackathon team, please go to your profile, your people tab, and we want you to click Start Networking. There are going to be a set of questions and criteria there that will allow you to connect and match with other people. After you've set up your own networking, please make sure to go on to the schedule. So I'll actually show you here. I can share again. There we go. If you are looking for a hackathon team, set up your networking and move to schedule. So on your schedule, you'll be able to see your availability. You want to say that you're available today. That allows other people to reach out to you. We have a chat box up here if you wanted to start conversations with others. I'll go through the networking as well, what that looks like. So for this test profile we have on, we're going to click Start Networking. We are available Friday, March 5th. We are going to pretend like we are looking for a hackathon team. We are a University of Arkansas student. We have maybe no coding experience. and we are interested in social impact topics. So that's going to allow us to find relevant matches and make ourselves available for meeting with other people. Once we have our matches set up and our schedule open for meetings. So let's end our screen share here, and I'm going to look on our question and answer tool to see if you guys have added anything that we want to take a look at today. One second, pulling that back up. Okay, we have a few questions here. This first one I'm going to be answering. Is midnight the hard deadline for forming teams? I know some individuals are not able to attend live and will be viewing the kickoff via recordings. So if you want to be eligible to actually compete for a prize, midnight is the deadline for forming teams. We're leaving you the rest of the afternoon to connect with people on Umbrella and our other collaboration platforms. And so if they want to take a look at those documents that we have, as well as this recording will be available right after, we are encouraging teams to be in by midnight tonight. Thanks for that question. Our next question here. Will these presentations be available on demand? I've got to jump from some meetings and want to review them all. Yes, we are recording everything. We're recording all the tech workshops and everything you've seen here this morning. So we will be able to make those available to you and probably post them on YouTube in the next week or so as well. So we'll make those very accessible. Another question here. We are not going to actually implement the applications, but going to present a pitch as a team to the problem we choose. Just making sure. So that's optional for you. Some teams may want to build a proof of concept, but it's definitely not required. We'll always end up seeing a mixture of both. Some may present just a very elegant business pitch, a business solution, and some may end up building a little bit of the architecture out for that app. It's really to get the vision and the really solid business plan of how you want to approach those problems, and just communicating those in a way that, you know, if you were to pitch to your CEO or to an investor, you would be able to get that idea across very clearly. So sometimes that includes an actual application. Sometimes it just depends on how well you deliver the idea. I'm not seeing any more questions in the review box right now. I did want to update everyone that we have moved from Microsoft Teams to Slack. We got a notice that because of University of Arkansas settings, if you didn't have a specific email type, it was blocking some people out. So just before we even get started on a collaboration platform like Teams or Slack, we wanted to make sure everyone could access it. So Slack is now updated on your event info slides, on the guidelines and FAQ. Please join our Slack channel, not Teams, our Slack channel if you want to continue collaborating and asking questions to us, or working with your teammates or mentors on there as well. A few more questions here. From your experience, how much time should be dedicated every week to accomplish this task until April 2nd? That's a great question. So typically these event formats have been in almost a 24-hour time period, right? You'll have a day or a weekend to put together these ideas. And so I would suggest you may want to commit, 5 to 10 hours a week. That could be a good amount of time. If you worked on it an hour a day, while you had classes, or just took a whole day on the weekend to work on it all Saturday. That might be, a general range for what would be comparable to other events that have taken place, similar type of innovation weekends and things like that. That's totally up to your time management and your schedule, though. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Let's see. Are the presentations of use case pitches going to be available before midnight tonight? Yes. So right when we stop this recording, which will be, if you're in tech sessions already, it should be available immediately after we stop answering these questions as a viewable video on Vimeo. You can rewatch all the pitches, and you can see the documents that all the presenters just described in their pitches. So if you go on the event info link under your homepage, you'll be able to see here's all your use case pitches in one document compiled together. We'll also go ahead and put that on the Slack channel as well, since we have moved over to Slack from Teams to make it accessible for everyone. We're going to post all the use case pitches in a document on there, and then all the recordings will be available here on Umbrella. Oh, and I just had a update from a question when we were talking about if you needed to create the proof of concept for the application. No, you don't have to implement it. This is just a design idea. If you did, I don't know, if you could implement it and you could even get customers, wow, that's, way beyond what we would expect. But we don't want to keep you from doing that if that's something you think you could accomplish during this time. But really, it's a design idea or proof of concept application. Thanks. Let's see. Where will the link to join the Slack conversation be available? It is available under your event info, and it's also available under our guidelines and FAQ site. So if you go to blockchain.uark.edu, you can click our guidelines and FAQs there, and it's also available in the event info page when you land Umbrella. And we'll probably email it out to you after this event. We'll send out, a survey, all the Slack links you need, any videos, anything that we can provide afterwards will probably be in the next week. Here's a question. I cannot join a team. It appears a slot is not available. What should I do? Okay, so try as hard as you can to directly talk to other people on this platform. If that doesn't work, you can let us know at blockchain@uark.edu, email blockchain@uark.edu. And we've had other people as well come to us and say, I'm having trouble getting connected. We will absolutely share contacts with you that way if you're looking for other people that could also not be connected on a team. But join that Slack channel, and maybe we can start a need a team channel on there. If you're having trouble connecting with people on Umbrella, maybe we can start a Slack channel there. I would try to do as much as we can to get you paired up and matched based on things that you're interested in or those ideas, rather than us place you at the end of the day. But we're going to make sure you get on a team. We're not going to leave you hanging. All right. Well, those are all the questions I see for now. Please enjoy the tech workshops. I hope you enjoyed our pitches and our awesome keynote from Jen McCaleb. And I think the next month is going to be a massive learning experiment. You're going to end up, creating these amazing ideas, meeting awesome teammates that will become your, good friends. And we look really forward to getting your final video pitches on April 2nd. and giving away some big cash prizes on April 9th. So thank you all so much. I'm going to sign off, and this recording will be available shortly. Bye all. Thanks.